Hi, I'm Daniel for Coder Prodigy, and in this video I'm going to teach you how to program animations with letters. And in this video I'm going to teach you how you can animate your name in funny ways. So for example, I have my name here, and whenever I hover my mouse over my letters, over the letters of my name, the letters animate in funny ways. So they either rotate, or they bounce around, or they flip, or they fade in or out, or they pulse. And I'm going to teach you how you can create these animations with letters that compose your own name. Now, in order to program this little animation, the first thing that you will need to do is go to the Scratch homepage. We will program this in the Scratch programming language and visual tool. So go here at scratch.mit.edu. This is the homepage for the Scratch website where we will store this project that we will program. And if you don't have an account, I recommend that you pause the video and create one now. It should take only a few minutes. And after you create the account, go here where it says My Stuff. So there is this icon over here that looks like a folder. Go ahead and click this one, and here you will get to the place where you will store all the projects that you will create on the Scratch website. Right now, I have a long list of projects that I teach kids to program, including games and so on, and all the projects that I've created here on this YouTube channel. And go here and click on this button where it says New Project, so click this one, and here you will have a new Scratch project. So this will take a couple of seconds, and after that you will be greeted with an empty Scratch project with a single sprite that looks like a cat. So we will go ahead and remove this sprite. So once the sprite is selected, go ahead and click on this icon over here that looks like a trash can. Go ahead and click this one, and you'll have no sprites in your project. But we will take care to add new sprites for our name. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this cat icon where it says choose a sprite. So click here. And here we will need to add all the letters of our name. So for your own name, I recommend that you add all the letters. So for example, here you will be greeted with a search display here where you can choose various sprites. And I want you to click on this last button where it says letters. So click here, and you'll have all the letters in various styles. So you have these orange cartoonish letters over here, and then you have these blue ones, and then you'll have these more serious green ones. So pick the style that you like best. I'm going to choose the cartoonish ones, and I'm going to add each letter in turns. For example, my name is Daniel. I will pick the letter D, and then I will add a new sprite for the letter A, and so on and so forth for the rest of my name. Alright, so I made this a little faster so that I don't bore you with adding every letter of my name. If you need more time for your own name, pause the video and add all the letters for your own name. And then arrange your letters in the proper order. So my name is Daniel, so I'm going to spell my name properly. So I have Daniel. So you should arrange your characters over here so that they spell your name properly. Now, if your name is a little bit longer and the letters are too big and they don't fit into the screen, you might want to make the letters a little bit smaller, and I'm going to teach you how to do that. So if you want to make the letters a little bit smaller, you can click on one of the letters, and you will need to modify the number here where it says size. Right now the number is 100, meaning 100%, the natural size of these letters. If you want to make the letters a little bit smaller, then you will have to change this number to something smaller. For example, 70. Instead of 100. And once you click on 70, notice that my letter D has been made smaller. So you can do that for all of your letters, but I'm going to teach you how to program those at the beginning of the game. So right now, I'm going to create a small script that will say that when I click the green flag, I will make this particular letter to have size 70% if you need that. So I'm going to go to the event section, the yellow one, and I'm going to drag a script starting with when flag clicked. So when the flag is clicked, I'm going to make this sprite take the size 70 if your name needs a little bit more space. So I'm going to go to looks, and I'm going to drag this purple block, set size to 100%. Now, for my name, I will leave the size to 100%, but for your own name, you might want to make this size a little bit smaller. So you might want to type in 70 here, or even a smaller number if you have a long name. So pick the number that is appropriate for your own name that you think you would need so that all the letters can fit on the screen in one go. All right, so pick a number here and then drag the script and leave it on every single character. So I'm going to drag this and drop it on every single letter of my name. All right, so drag it there and drag it to all the letters of your name. Okay. Now, if you want to make this a little bit more interesting, such that you don't have your name on the white backdrop, you can choose a different backdrop instead of the white that we have so far. So you can click on the stage here on the right-hand side of the screen, and then go to the Backdrops tab, and you can pick a new backdrop. So you can click on this icon over here where it says choose a backdrop, or you can click this icon over here on the right. So you can click either one, and then you can choose an environment. You can choose any background picture that you like. I'm going to choose Arctic because it looks well with the orange letters of my name, but you can pick any one that you like. All right, now we're going to get back to our first letter. So in my case, the letter D, and we're going to program the first animation on this letter. So you might have noticed at the beginning of the video that we animate all these letters when we hover with our mouse over them. So we are going to program this effect. If we are hovering with our mouse over one of these letters, they will animate in different ways. So we are going to program each letter differently. So here's what I'm going to do. On my first letter of my name, the letter D, I'm going to go to Events, the yellow section, and I'm going to drag another script when flag clicked. So now we have two different scripts, and when we click the flag, both of them will execute. So the computer will take care to execute both. All right, now when the flag is clicked, I will add a forever loop so that I always check whether I'm hovering with my mouse over the letter D. So I'm going to go to the light orange control section, and I'm going to drag a forever loop, and I'm going to drag it right underneath when flag clicked. All right, now forever, I will make the computer check whether the block D here, the letter D, is touching the mouse pointer. In other words, if I'm hovering with my mouse over it. So I'm going to drag this if block, and I'm going to snap it inside the forever loop. So forever, if the mouse is touching the sprite, or if the sprite is touching the mouse, so I'm going to go to the light blue sensing section, and I'm going to drag this first block, touching mouse pointer. So if I'm touching the mouse pointer, then I want to run an animation. So whatever I put in here, the computer will execute. And for my first letter, the first animation that I'm going to program here is a turn. So I'm going to make the letter D turn around in a circle. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to Control here, and then I'm going to drag a repeat loop, and I'm going to put it in open space. And this repeat 10 will repeat a small turn. So I'm going to go to the blue motion section, and I'm going to drag this turn right block. So I'm going to drag that in open space as well. And I'm going to turn exactly 36 degrees. And I'm going to explain why I've chosen the number 36. So if I repeat this turnaround 36 degrees 10 times, then in total, I will turn 36 times 10 degrees. So 36 times 10, that's 360 degrees. Now, from a little bit of geometry and mathematics, a 360 degree turn means a full circle turn. So this letter D will be back in the same position that it was in before the repeat loop. So if I click this block 10 times, look at that. So if I click once, the letter D has turned around 36 degrees. If I click, it turns 36 degrees more, and so on and so forth. And if I click 10 times, the letter D is back in its original place. So this is from the properties of geometry. So 360 degrees means a full circle turn. So if I turn 36 degrees inside a repeat 10 block, I'm going to turn 360 degrees total. So I'm going to place this repeat block inside the if block if touching mouse pointer. So right now, if I click the flag, then the script will light up and the computer will always keep on checking if the letter D is touching the mouse pointer. And if it does, then this repeat loop and this turn will happen. So now, if I move my mouse cursor over the letter D, it will turn around in a full circle. But if I hover my mouse over the letter D, so if I keep my mouse pointer over the letter D, it will keep spinning around. That is because this check, if touching mouse pointer, is in a forever loop. And so the computer will always keep on checking, is the letter D touching the mouse pointer? And if so, do a full spin. And so as long as the mouse button is here, then the letter D will keep on spinning. So this is the first animation of the letter D. If you want, you can copy this script and place it over every single one of the letters of your name, and you can animate your whole name in this way. But in this video, I'm going to show you more animations that you can apply to every single letter in turn. So right now, if you want to copy the script and place it over the other letters of your name, you can drag the script from the top and drop it on the other letters of your name. So for example, I'm going to drop it over the A character over here. So the second letter of my name. I'm going to zoom in a little bit so that you can see my code. And this exact script will happen to the letter A as well. So notice that the letter A can also animate like that. And you can animate the rest of the letters of your name exactly like that. But I'm going to animate the letter A a little bit differently. And so I'm going to remove this repeat block, and I'm going to leave the open space because the script will have the same structure. So in a forever loop, if the letter A is touching the mouse pointer, I'm going to animate the letter A a little bit differently. So for the letter A, I want the letter A to move a little bit up and then slowly descend down back to where it was. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to drag this block, change Y by, and change Y by means move this letter or this sprite upwards by 10 steps. So I'm going to change that by 20. So I'm going to make A move 20 by 20 steps a few times and then descend back to where it was like this. And so I'm going to wrap this block, this blue block, in a repeat loop. So I'm going to go to control and I'm going to drag this repeat block and I'm going to wrap it inside. And instead of repeat 10, I'm going to say repeat 5. So 5 times I'm going to make the letter A move upwards by 20 positions. So it'll move something like this. So if I click on this repeat loop, it'll go something like this. Right? So very quickly, it'll ascend, it will climb to this position. And after that, I'm going to make a descent. So go down a little bit more slowly. So I'm going to right click on this repeat loop. I'm going to click on duplicate and I'm going to place it in open space because I'm going to do a very similar thing for the downwards. And this time I'm going to descend a little bit more slowly. And so I'm going to change Y by a smaller amount. So I'm going to use -5, and -5 means downwards by 5 positions. So a little bit more slowly downwards. And instead of repeat 5, I'm going to use repeat 20. So in total, I'm climbing 20 times 5, that is 100 steps upwards, and then I'm descending 20 times 5, that is 100 steps down. And so the letter A will move back to where it was. So right now, if I snap these repeat blocks together and I click them, notice how the letter A moves down upwards and then downwards more slowly. See? So A moves upwards a little bit faster and then downwards a little bit more slowly. And this is the animation that we want for the letter A. And so after you're done with these two repeat blocks, snap them inside the if block if touching mouse pointer. And this is the animation for letter A. So I'm going to hit the flag now, and the letter D turns around in circles. And if I hover my mouse cursor over the letter A, it goes upwards and then downwards, like I said. All right. So as long as the mouse cursor is on the letter A, this animation will keep on going. All right, so that was the letter A. Let's animate the rest of the characters. Now, for the letter N, I'm going to run a little bit differently. So I'm going to drag this script and drop it on the letter N so that I have the same starting script. And I'm going to zoom in a little bit so that you can see my code. And I'm going to remove the repeat loops that we wrote earlier for the letter A, and I'm going to run a different kind of animation. I'm going to say that if the mouse cursor is hovering over N, I'm going to make it rotate, and then otherwise I'm going to rotate it back. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to drag this if-else block. So instead of if touching mouse pointer, I'm going to say if touching mouse pointer otherwise, So with 2 spaces instead of 1, I'm going to snap this block inside the forever loop instead of the other one. All right, so we have forever and then if or else. Okay, now if the letter N is touching the mouse pointer, or if your third letter of your own name is touching the mouse pointer, I'm going to make this letter twist a little bit. So I'm going to go to the blue motion section and I'm going to drag this point in direction block. And normally every sprite points in direction 90, and 90 means pointing to the right. And this is the normal appearance of all the characters and all the sprites in Scratch. If you want to play around with directions and if you want to see how they look like, every single sprite has a direction variable over here, a direction quantity, and you can click here and you can drag this number over here and see how your sprites would look like if you want to twist them in a different way. So right now I'm using direction 90, and for N I'm using the direction 180. So it looks something like this with it looks like a Z. All right, so I'm going to have this small effect. So I'm going to reset this back to 90, and I'm going to say point in direction 90 if the letter N is not touching the mouse pointer. So I'm going to place this in the else part, and in the if part, in the first space, I'm going to say point in direction 180. So I'm going to make it point downwards, or in the case of letter N, I'll make it look like a Z. So here's how the effect is going to look like. So if I click the flag and I hover my mouse cursor over N, it looks like this. So something like a twisted Daziel kind of name. So if you want to trick people into misspelling your name, you can do this kind of animation. And once I release my mouse cursor over my letter N, it reverts back to its original position because I pointed into the direction 90. So this is how you can animate the third letter of your name. All right, let's move to the other character. I'm going to go to the letter A and I'm going to drag the script onto the letter I. So on the fourth letter of my name. And then I'm going to zoom in so that you can see my code, and I'm going to remove these repeat loops, and I'm going to program a different kind of animation. Now for the letter I, or the fourth letter of my name, I want to make it move upwards very, very fast to the top of the stage, and then move it from the bottom of the stage back to where it originally was. So something like that. Okay, so I'm going to make it move upwards and then reset it at the bottom of the stage and then translate it upwards yet again. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to drag this change Y by. As I mentioned earlier, change Y by moves the sprite upwards by a certain amount. And I'm going to give you the numbers here so that your animation looks good. And I'm going to say change Y by 20. And I'm going to repeat that 10 times. So I'm going to go to control and I'm going to wrap this inside a repeat block. So if I repeat 10, change Y by 20, then I'm going to change this position by a total of 20 times 10, that is 200 steps upwards. So if I click this block, notice how the letter I goes to almost the top of the stage. This is exactly what I want. All right. So after you repeat 10, change Y by 20, then you are going to reset the position of this letter to the bottom of the stage. And so I'm going to go to motion, the blue section, and I'm going to drag this block, set Y to a given value. And I'm going to set Y to negative 140. Negative 140 is roughly here at the bottom of the stage. So roughly around here. So after you repeat 10, change Y by 20, so after this letter goes to the top of the stage, it will immediately reset at the bottom of the stage, and then you can animate it upwards yet again. So I'm going to go to control and I'm going to add another repeat block. So I'm going to drag it here and I'm going to repeat 4 times. And I'm going to go back to the blue motion section and I'm going to change Y by the same 20 steps. All right, so the full effect is going to be move upwards, the first repeat block. So I will go something like this, and then set Y to negative 140, so it will reset back at the bottom of the stage. And then repeat 4, change Y by 20, and so it will reset back to roughly its original position. So let's see how this looks like. So I'm going to click this script. See how that looks like? So it goes to the top of the stage, and then it resets back at the bottom, and then it goes back to where it was. Right? So after you've done that, just drag this whole mini script inside the if touching mouse pointer, and then you're good to go. So if you click the flag, now if you hover over the fourth letter of your name, it will do something like this. All right, so you have an animation here that you have programmed for the fourth letter of your name. And so you have first four letters of your name already animated. All right, so you're doing great. If you want to reuse some of the animations that you've done so far on other letters of your name, you can simply drag this script and drop them on the other letters that you want to animate in this way. All right, let me show you the fifth letter. So I'm going to drag this script onto the fifth letter, and I'm going to make some space, zoom in a little bit so that you can see my code, and I'm going to remove the content of if touching mouse pointer, so I'm going to have this empty space. Now, for the fifth letter, I'm going to show you an animation that will fade in and fade out this letter. And the way that you're going to do that is by going to the looks section, and by dragging this change effect by a given amount. And instead of change color, we're going to change the ghost effect. The ghost effect is the transparency effect of every single sprite. And if you change the ghost effect by a certain amount, then you make that sprite more transparent. The maximum ghost effect is 100, meaning that the sprite is completely transparent and you can see all the way through it. It basically disappears from screen. So if I change the ghost effect by 25, notice that the letter E over here is a little bit more transparent. If I click this again, the letter E is barely visible, and then if I click it again, then it almost disappeared, and then if I click it once more, the letter A is completely invisible, also transparent. Now, if I click this block over here where it says clear graphic effects, then the letter E is back to its ghost effect 0, which is its natural state. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to say change ghost effect by 10, and I'm going to repeat that 10 times so that I can create this fade out effect. So I'm going to go to control, and I'm going to drag the repeat 10 block, and I'm going to wrap this purple block inside. So if I click repeat 10, change ghost effect by 10, then the total amount of ghost that I've added to the sprite is 10 times 10, that's 100. So by the end of the script, the sprite has become completely transparent or invisible. So let me go ahead and click this one and watch what happens to the fifth letter over here. All right, so it slowly disappeared from view. Now, I'm going to right click on this repeat loop and I'm going to duplicate that. I'm going to place that in open space. And I'm going to say repeat 10, change ghost effect by -10. That means I'm making it increasingly visible. So I'm making it less transparent. So now if I click this second repeat block, I'm going to have this fade in effect. All right, so the letter E has now appeared onto the stage. Now, if I snap these two together, then I'm going to have a fade out and fade in effect in the same animation. All right, so it's like a pulsing animation, a fade out and fade in effect. And now I'm going to take these two and snap them back into the if touching mouse pointer, so that if I hit the block, if I hit the flag, then if I hover my mouse over the letter E, then I have this animation here that it fades in and fades out repeatedly. That is because this effect happens as long as my mouse pointer is on top of the letter E. All right, and finally, the sixth letter of my name, Daniel, and you can reuse these animations on your own name as well, is a size animation. And here's how I'm going to do that. I'm going to drag this script and I'm going to drop it onto the sixth letter of my name, the letter L, and I'm going to make some room so that you can see my code. And I'm going to keep most of the stuff except for the purple blocks. So I'm going to remove these two. And here I'm going to animate the letter L's size. So if you want to increase the size of a sprite, you can do that by modifying this size number over here. Instead of 100, you can make it, for example, 200. And if you make it 200, you'll make it twice as big. So you have it something like that. All right. So I'm going to make it a little bit big in a repeat loop. And I'm going to go to looks, the purple section, and I'm going to drag this change size by. And I'm going to have repeat 10, change size by 10, and repeat 10, I'm going to have change size by -10. So I'm going to place it back to its original size. So now if I click the flag and I hover my mouse over the letter L, then I'm going to have this pulsing animation here that the letter L has increased in size, and it decreases in size and reverts back to its original state. And now I am done with animating my name, Daniel. And if you want to animate other letters of your name, you can reuse some of these animations and drag them and drop them onto the other letters of your name if your name is longer. All right. If your name is shorter than Daniel, for example, if you are called Tom, for example, you can choose the animations that I showed you. You can choose some of those that you like and animate the letters of your name in that way. But right now, the effect is that every single letter of my name is animated a little bit differently. And you can use this when you want to introduce yourself at school, for example, when you want to show a small programming project. All right, I hope you had fun. I'm Daniel, and I teach kids to code here at Coder Prodigy. If you like this video, go ahead and click the like button for me and subscribe. And if you're a parent, go ahead and follow Coder Prodigy on Twitter or on LinkedIn. I'm Daniel, and I'll be seeing you in the next video.